asked myself, what are actually the 3 fundamentals of manifestation that you need to know, that you need to understand, that you also need to, in a practical way, apply in your life to manifest your desires. And those are the 3 keys that I would like to talk with you about in this video. So with that, let's just dive right in. And this is what Neville said. He said the teaching begins with self-observation. So here you can also see highlighted the 3 keys already. Right? The teaching begins with self-observation. Secondly, it asks, what do you want? AKA defining your aim, defining the desired state that you want to shift into. And then it teaches detachment from all negative states and attachment to your aim. This last state, which is attachment to your aim, is accomplished by frequently assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled, aka by nurturing that end state, by dwelling in that end state, by really embodying that desired identity, version of you already having achieved whatever it is that you would like to achieve. Let's talk about self-observation. So the starting point is self-observation in order to discover one's reactions to life. Why is this so important? This discovery can be made only through an uncritical observation of one's reactions to life. The sum total of these reactions defines the individual state of consciousness. So from your reactions to life, you can basically learn where you dwell within. If you react again and again and again when you go to your mailbox and there's like a bill, or you look at your bank account, well, then that reaction is showing you that you, in that area of life when it comes to money, maybe live to some degree in a lack state. Otherwise, you would not react. So by observing your reactions, you can see in which states you currently dwell. These are, of course, not final. Or someone mentions the topic of relationships, or you see a happy couple, outside on the streets. If that triggers you and you think, oh, I wish I could also have this, I wish I could have my partner right now, I wish I could be in my relationship right now, that is an indication that in this moment you're dwelling in the desiring state and not in the wish fulfilled. So self-observation here is crucial, and you can practice that by being more self-aware first, by being more aware of your thoughts, of your reactions, of your emotions, right? And that can be practiced, that can be trained. That is the foundation as well in my program. More information on that later in the video. So at this moment, try to notice your inner state. Right? Try to see where do you stand within right now. Many people overlook this because they are constantly in the circumstances, entangled in the outside world. Try to see where do you actually dwell within right now. What do you believe to be true? What do you assume? How do you feel? Right? Where do you dwell within? That's your inner state. Right? To what thoughts are you consenting? With what feelings are you identified? You must be ever careful where you are within yourself, because where you are within yourself is reflected in your world, in your own life, through people around you, in your circumstances and the events that you encounter. And rebirth, right, depends on inner work on oneself. Anytime that an entirely new set of reactions enters into a person's life, a change of consciousness has taken place, a spiritual rebirth has occurred. What does Neville mean by that? Well, if you leave the state of poverty and you go, for example, in the state of financial overflow, financial abundance, financial security, right? Financial stability, then you no longer react as you did previously. Previously, in that old state, you reacted on bills, you reacted on, your bank account, you reacted on a financial recession. Now in the new state, we have different reactions to life. You see money amounts that you previously thought are really high, they now become normal for you, right? You see bills that you were previously triggered off, that's not normal for you simply to pay them, right? So like Neville said, I really like this, like every time a new set of reactions enters your life, that is a sign that you've shifted into a completely new state and you were reborn, right? You've shifted completely and you've let go of an old identity. Let's talk about the second fundamental, the second key, which is definition of aim. So now you know where you stand within right now. Now you know, okay, what do you react to? Now you know what your current state is. But of course, the question is, what do you want? Because now that you know your current state, I mean, that's fine, that's good, but that's not enough. If you only know your current state, but you don't do inner movement, well, not much will change in your life. That's also what I talked about in my video, which is called why you should not focus on letting go purely. Because if you focus on letting go, well, nice, you let go of an old state, but what do you hold on to right now? What attitude to start to occupy right now? So letting go is only halfway. You need to also practice really to define the aim and then occupy that desired end state. So having this covered through an uncritical observation of one's reactions to life, you must now formulate an aim. That is, you must define the one you would like to be. So you have to just say, I want this, I want to be this. This is my desire. I would like to, in my external world, experience this. I would like to be this version of myself. You have to kind of like get clear on which state it is that you would now like to select out of the infinite states that are in existence. So in defining an aim, you are defining a state of consciousness which, like all states, must have its reactions to life. For example, if a rumor or an idle remark could cause an anxious reaction in one person and no reaction in another, this is positive proof that the two people are living in two different states of consciousness. Please understand this. Neville also said this. Let's say there are two people in a room, they watch the news, and the news say, oh, a recession will start, a financial recession will start, or there is a virus that will go around in the world. Well, one that is maybe in a state of lacking finances and very bad health is super shocked by that, has a lot of fears, like, oh my God, I need to do something about it, I need to save money, I need to do that, I need to only eat healthy right now, and all of that. The other person who is confidently, naturally, always, habitually in a state of financial overflow, financial abundance, wealth, being vital, they hear it and they're like, okay, doesn't really affect me. And I'm not making this up. You can see this if you observe the world. You can see this if you observe people. People are in different states and therefore they react to external circumstances differently. So it's not the external circumstance that's the problem. There is no problem at all. The question is, where do you dwell within? And that will determine your reactions to life. And that's why Neville said, when you have new reactions, that means internally you stand in a new state. If you're faithful to your ideal, to that defined state, your reactions will conform to your aim. For you will be you will be identified with your aim, and therefore you will be thinking from your aim, right? If your reactions are not in harmony with your ideal, it is a sure sign that you're separated from your ideal and you're only thinking of it, right? So you've fallen out of the wish-fulfilled state. Assume that you are the one you want to be, and notice your reactions throughout the day in regard to that assumption. For your reactions will tell you the state from which you're operating. So that's why you need the first fundamental self-observation, to always see what do you dwell within right now, to have this kind of like conscious mental diet, to be aware which seeds do you plant in your internal garden, how do you react to life. And if that's not to your liking, if that's not in alignment with your aim, well, then you can change it. Then you can define the aim again and attach back to that end state. And now the final key is detachment, right? So this is the third fundamental, detachment, right? Having discovered that everything is a state of consciousness made visible, if you have understood that your life expresses simply your internal state, and having defined the particular state which we want to make visible, we now set about the task of entering that state. For we must move psychologically from where we are to where we desire to be. Please understand this. This is a very important key, right? Moving from where we are right now to where we want to be psychologically. Externally, you might still be for a while in the same circumstances, right? But psychologically, internally, in your inner world, you can already move to where you would like to be. And Neville said in some of his books, I think it was called Thinking Fourth Dimensionally, he said that this is the most profound discovery of mankind, is that we can move internally, psychologically, already into a new state, although our world still shows us, old reflections, but if we keep dwelling in that new state, that is what is going to reflect in our world. And this is exactly where my favorite illustration comes into play again. Because this illustration, like I always say, really summarizes manifestation. It shows us the process. It shows us how it works, right? This is the current internal state. But with this video right now, we already learned that, okay, because of self-observation, we will be able to see, okay, this is a state that we no longer want to be in. I react in ways that I no longer want to react to life. I have thoughts that I no longer want to, entertain and be identified with. So we observe that I no longer want to be in that state. I want to have those life experiences, and for that I need to be in that new state. So we have self-observation. We define that new state. We say, I want this. This is my desire. I want to be this. I want to have this. And now we need to attach us to that new state. How do we do that? By, again, filling our awareness, filling our mind, filling your inner world with the feeling of having achieved it, with the feeling of already being it. right? Embodying that identity, dwelling in that identity, imagining scenes that imply that. You can basically apply like any method that helps you. I remember when I was here, now I'm here. Isn't it wonderful that I'm now here? Deciding that, right? No matter what you would like to do, simply the goal is that we make this right now the new internal state. And the thing is, please keep this in mind, although you will internally start to be in that state, you will still see some of the old circumstances because it takes a while until the circumstances catch up and now reflect back the new reality, the new state. So the purpose of practicing detachment is to separate us from the present reactions to life. So, right, we separate us from that state out of which we have the current reactions to life, and we attach us to the aim in life, to the desired state that we defined. This inner separation must be developed by practice. So it's not something you can just do once and then forget about it. It needs repetition. It needs practice, right? We need to be a doer of the word. We need to be a doer of those teachings and actually make the inner work and not just think about that. And at first, this has also happened to me, we seem to have no power to separate ourselves from undesirable internal states simply because we have always taken every mood, every reaction as natural and have become identified with them. So when there is no level of self-awareness, when you don't self-observe yourself, then you won't even notice those reactions. You won't even notice those thoughts and states that you dwell in that are actually undesirable. So you need to have this increased sense of self-awareness. And when we have no idea to our reactions, that our reactions are only states of consciousness from which it is possible to separate ourselves, we go round and round in the same circle of problems, not seeing them as inner states, but as outer situations. That is exactly what I explained in my video called Mirror Principle. You can check this out above, where I basically said that when you always react to life, when you always take a cue from the outside, you reinfect your internal world, you repollute your internal world, and then that is reflected back again. And so you just stay in the same vicious loop, and we want to, of course, escape that. So we practice detachment or inner separation that we may escape from the circle of our habitual reactions to life. That is why we must formulate an aim and constantly notice ourselves in regard to that aim. So defining the end state, but then throughout your day you can't, 99% react the opposite way or just dwell on triggers and reactions or opposite thoughts. Once you notice that, then you need to dwell back in the desired end state. And this is the summary already, right? We must practice separating ourselves from our negative moods and thoughts in the midst of all the troubles and the disasters of daily life. So we need to have a level of self-awareness. And then we have control over where we dwell within. And no one can be different from what he is now unless he begins to separate himself from his present reactions to identify himself with his desired state. Detachment from negative states and assumption of the wish fulfilled must be practiced. All right? So we must constantly practice self-observation, thinking from our aim, dwelling in the desired state, making then, now and there, here, and bringing the desire into here, now, and embody it, and viewing the world mentally as we would view it would the desire already be manifested, and also detachment from negative moods and thoughts if we would be doers of the truth instead of mere hearers. And these are the three keys. If you can master them, if you can practice them, if you can apply them increasingly in your life, you won't be a master tomorrow, right? Mastery takes a time. Be gentle with yourself. Don't be harsh with yourself, but incorporate them. Have self-observation. When you go in the outside world, in your daily life, observe yourself and see where do you dwell within. Ask yourself, what do you want? What is my desire in this moment? Who do I want to be? What do I have to manifest? And then, do I dwell in a state of not having it, or do I dwell in a state of having it? How do I view the world? From wanting it or from having it? Thinking of it, thinking from it. If you need any help with that, that's what I wanted to mention earlier in the video, but I said I will keep it for the end, is that if you would like to have accountability on that, apply this in your life, have me to coach you on this journey, and you resonate with Neville's teachings, I invite you to schedule a free 45-minute consultation call with me or my team so that we can find out if we are a good fit, right? That is a free call, laid back, non-binding. You will find that second link in the description, and then we can see if you would like to jump into my program. And if not, then it's also fine. At least you will have had a very good call and see more of your current blind spots. And if you want to learn for free, you can also check out my free masterclass. That's the first link in the video description, where I basically explain how to shift into the desired version of yourself without any hype, without any woo-woo, without any fluff. Practical, so that you can get results. That's it from my side. I speak to you in the next one. Bye, guys.